in some of those elements.
Yeah.
But again, as much as possible, I believe he wants to emphasize just the individually powerful components of his deck.
Yeah.
Backed up with Market Mutiny, because Market Mutiny is very powerful in a bunch of different spots.
All right, so we are going to see both players here get ready for our finals match. It's almost time to crown champion, Patrick.
Yes, we are very close.
First of
one
the
day.
weekend.
Yep.
So will it be Jund or will it be the Aristocrats? Very funny. One thing that we've seen over the course of this term before these two players to begin, I know a lot of people were questioning how good Jund is going to be moving forward because Junk Reanimator is such a big deck and it really preys on that deck. Where is the junk?
Oh, yeah.
There's no more junk in the trunk.
We had one person running deep with that deck yesterday, but...
None in top 8 this weekend. I guess that's not so bad.
No, it's okay. Brian Fisher, the first seed here, trying to run through the entire tournament. Matthew Tech taking a mulligan. I've been really impressed watching the Aristocrats play with Orzhov Charm. Just because, in my mind, I play a lot of Gate Crash Limited, and so in my mind it's very much, it's a kill spell with 2 modes that never come up. That's sort of,
yeah.
And the Aristocrats actually incorporates all 3 modes very efficiently, so it's kind of cool to watch.
The utility on that card is pretty incredible. A lot of people think of Orzhov Charm, as you said, it's just a removal spell, but that first time that you do bounce maybe a Falconwrath Aristocrat back to your hand in response to like a Supreme Bird or something, it's dirty.
Or get your Doom Traveler back mid-combat to do,
Yeah. It is dirty. Sam Black, you are a genius.
Master. Sam Black also appeared in the top 8 with this deck.
Bounced last night, unfortunately, by Jeff Hoogland, or fortunately, depending on which camp you are in. But Sam will be back today, and I know that I talked to Sam yesterday. He's got a brew for Legacy. More of a brew than The Walking Dead.
That can't be possible. That can't possibly be true.
It's true. He's playing. I'll give you a little sample teaser. He's playing Cartel Aristocrat in Legacy.
Okay.
That's all you get from me.
All right.
And maybe Caves with Kolos. That's it. That's it. I'll stop there.
Is it? I mean, he's a pretty successful Magic player. He can't afford Scrublands.
No.
They're like, I don't know. They're kind of expensive, I guess, but that's
traditionalist.
Okay, sure.
That's old school. I thought you would appreciate that.
Scrublands is even older.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, so let's see if Matthew Check is happy with his mulligan hand.
All right, I think they're good to go. And our finals are underway.
Overgrown Tomb started. There's a Gala Shine for check. He does pass the turn back after drawing Lingering Souls for his turn. Looks like he does have a second land as well, so fairly good mulligan thus far. Let me see a force. Is it a Farseek? It is the Boogeyman.
Very powerful start for Jund on the play. Goes without saying. Once this deck gets on the front foot, mana-wise, very powerful, especially with just so many haymakers at 4 and 5 mana.
Probably the best Farseek deck out there.
Yeah, I mean, there are maybe you could argue the Bant deck, but certainly Jund playing against creature decks with Farseek on the play, that's about as good as it looks to me.
Yeah. Alright, so Check is going to untap that Gala Shrine. He's going to draw a card. He draws a Cartel Aristocrat. Isolated Chapel comes in. There's an Aristocrat, so he's going to try to start to get those engines online. See another Farseeker on there for Fisher. So there's your 4th land. All right, just a Farseek. So if you're Matthew, you got to be feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, second Farseek a lot worse than the first one.
Yeah. No Olivia or Huntmaster of the Fells to start to show off with, so kind of a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
You do see Fisher search out a Blood Crypt here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're attending and playing in the Legacy Open today. We've got about 15 minutes left in registration.
A lot of players here filtering in for our Legacy Open this weekend. A lot of good attendance this weekend here in Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah.
See Gala Shrine. No red yet for Matthew here. So he's going to play Galatrine on tap, going to move down to 18, and we'll see if he's going to follow up with a Lingering Souls. Don't think he has a Boros Reckoner in his hand, yeah. So 2 Spirit Tokens are going to be coming at you.
So not a horrible mulligan for Matthew Czech. Obviously, would like to find red mana sooner rather than later, but
he's getting things set up here, slowly but surely. Does have a Sacrifice outlet, no Skirt Stack High Priest yet. Not sure if he has a Tragic Slip in his hand, but he's building towards something. You know, depending on what Brian has in his hand, as you do see 2 copies of Liliana the Veil, you also see an Olivia Valdarin. You know,
and a Murder, not all not great against the Lingering Souls Cartel Aristocrat package.
Yeah. As you see a Thragtusk coming here for Brian, going to push himself up to 23. Has to turn back to check. Checking a draw card. It's
Tragic Slip.
I think that was a Tragic Slip, so that's going to give him some nice utility there against Olivia Valdarin. So Spirit Tokens look like they're ready to get tough. And they are. So Fisher going to move down to 21, and we'll see if we see another Cartel Aristocrat, if we're going to see a flashback of Lingering Souls. That's just going to be an Aristocrat here.
Czech also sitting on Blasphemous Act. No, again, no Reckoner, but could potentially clear the board if he ever draws red.
So Brian draws a Woodland Cemetery for the turn. Does have access to Olivia plus Ping this turn if he does want it. You see him separating his mana a little bit. Trying to figure out how he does want to navigate this turn. He's going to start by bashing in with the old beastie.
I assume we're just going to take this hit.
Down to 13 we go. Follow this up here. It is Olivia. So one of the premier threats against the Aristocrats has shown up here. Fortunately for Czech, he does have a Tragic Slip in his hand.
And Brian correctly simply just saying go here. If he actually just fired off on a Lingering Souls token right now, he would get slipped here. But by playing it this way, he gets to keep his Olivia on defense for a little bit longer.
Cavern Soul is the draw here for Czech. So it does give him red mana for his Falkenrath Aristocrat in a weird sort of way. But does not give him the red for Blasphemous Act, of course.
Yeah. I have to assume Matthew Czech is sort of committed to just Tragic Slipping this turn. There's no way he can let Olivia untap with all that mana in play. So he can't really just jam his Aristocrat, his Falkenrath Aristocrat. I think his plan here is just either flashback Lingering Souls or play Cartel Aristocrat and just pass with his Tragic Slip up.
Yeah.
Ooh, getting frisky.
So in come the Knuckleheads, no fear.
Wow.
Make a man out of you.
That's an aggressive attack.
I think Messi knows that he's probably going to lose these 2 Spirit Tokens anyway. With Olivia being able to block one and shoot one, or, you know, Czech has to sacrifice one to turn on Tragic Slip, shoots the other one.
I don't know if it has to go down that way. He can just flashback Lingering Souls and say go.
Sure. Then what, Fisher shoots one at the end of turn, then you just kill one.
Probably
Okay.
shoots a token, and then I don't know if it's worth. In essence, he's giving up both of his Lingering Souls tokens here. One when he presumably saves his Cartel Aristocrat, and then the other when Olivia gets to shoot one of them.
Yeah.
And he gets to do this in exchange for 3 damage. I think 1 Spirit is probably worth more than 3 damage when you have Blasphemous Act and a bunch of Cartel Aristocrats in play.
Yeah. So there's your sacrifice. See if we're going to see our Tragic Slip. So there's your slip. Take care of that, Olivia. It's going to finish off that token. Yep, so we saw this coming. We'll see if he's going to follow up with a third Cartel Aristocrat or if he's going to want to flashback Lingering Souls.
I assume that we would want to flashback Lingering Souls first when... Alright, I guess he's going beatdowns here.
If flashback Lingering Souls gives his Cartel Aristocrats a lot of protection.
Yep. My concern is if Ryan just leaves his Thrytos back on D, then you basically can't attack. Cavern naming Vampire, a strong signaling of a Falconwrath Aristocrat. Although I think that Brian just drew Olivia, in which case playing another Cartel Aristocrat is much better.
So in for 5 we go. Gonna move check down to 8. Oh, that is another Olivia Valderin. 3 and 4. So she is back and better than ever. All right, checking on untap. See what he draws this turn. It's a Lingering Souls. He was hoping to fade another Olivia Valderin, being able to deal with the first one, knowing that there's 2 left in Brian's deck and no card drawing, no way to find it. But can't stop the top of the deck, my friend.
Yeah. Pretty rough spot for check here. He can't even reset the board. His only red source of mana is a Cavern.
Yeah.
And this Olivia is going to be so hard to slog through with Brian's life total as high as it is.
Yep. This is where it gets difficult. Olivia is the one card that this deck does not enjoy playing against. So check does just play that Lingering Souls, passing the turn back. Olivia's going to shoot a token. Let that resolve. Should sacrifice to the Cartel Aristocrat to make sure Olivia doesn't grow.
Yep.
So just a minor hiccup there.
And Matthew is still okay-ish if he's able to find a Tragic Slip fast.
Yes. He's got about a 2-turn window, I think, max, to find one.
Yeah. Because Brian's hand's actually quite poor. It's just Murder and 2 copies of
Liliana. Yep.
So basically a 0 spell hand. Definitely not nearly as good.
All right. So he sees the interaction this time, not letting Olivia grow.
I would assume giving his guy pro green.
Thrytos not coming in, so looks like it is going to be pro green. But Olivia is knocking Matthew down to 4. He does just pass the turn back with that Murder and those 2 Lilianas. Blood Artist to draw this turn.
Another one-type creature caught in the maw of Olivia.
Yeah. So here's the Lingering Souls flashback.
We have about 5 minutes remaining in registration.
Now we're going to see an Artiste. And so these are the draws that I think John wants to play against.
Yes.
You know, where they're trying to cobble together these cute little interactions that grind the opponent down. John doesn't care about that stuff. They can overpower that stuff with individual cards like Olivia Valderin.
We're getting in.
Feel fresh?
I think sending 1 or 2 of these guys might be okay, just because you're going to lose all your one-touchless creatures anyway.
Yep.
So you can get in for a few points.
He's just going to pass the turn back. Take the conservative approach. As here is
try to defend himself as well as possible.
Shoot the Blood Artist. Going to sacrifice this guy. Nope. Or is he? right, so he's going to move up to 5 from the Blood Artist trigger. Six.
Yeah, he's just clearing out all of his one-touchless creatures right now anyway because it's so efficient for Brian to just smoke those that he might as well gain some life.
And 7. The problem here for Czech is that he is staring at. Is he staring at lethal right now? Because he can shoot his own Thragtusk a bunch.
He has a 3rd red source, yes. So he's looking at.
If Fisher sees the play, he can just shoot Thragtusk 3 times and throw it and finish him off. So we'll see if he does see that. If he doesn't, Czech might be able to come back this game. It doesn't look like he readily sees it, so.
Yeah.
If you're Czech, there's a small glimmer of hope.
Yes. It's still Tragic Slipper bust basically right now.
Yeah.
You know, have to assume at this point that
Play this untapped. So he's coming in with both these guys.
see a single block. You had to assume that Brian has something pretty specific in mind for how he wants to use his mana if he played his Blood Crypt untapped.
Yeah.
He has 8 mana total here, 4 of it red, so he has 4 pings with Olivia.
So you see him pointing at Olivia and pointing at something.
Okay.
Okay, so looks like he figured it out slowly but surely there. So Brian Fisher going to be up a game here against Matthew Czech playing the Aristocrats as we are going to cut back to the booth here because it is time for the final premium giveaway where we will ask you guys a question. You will hashtag your answer, hashtag SCG Premium.
Yeah.
So 12 months this time.
Yeah, and this one is a hard one.
Yeah.
I want to say, just full disclosure here, if you've watched the show with me and Cedric before, the trivia questions usually aren't that hard.
Yeah.
We don't do that. But given that we rolled out Grand Prix Miami this weekend,
Yep.
it's a big announcement. Some other people, not us,
Definitely not us.
wanted to make the questions a little more Grand Prix Miami centric. And so we're actually asking questions that are somewhat challenging this weekend for the 1-year premium.
Yeah. Could be anyone. Could be Glenn Jones and no one else that wants these questions to be done.
Right, but listen, we're just humble servants of Star City Games, and so here we are.
We do what we do.
Question, 1 year, again, of premium, hashtag SCG Premium. Which Magic artist, known for his Angels, is making his first U.S. appearance at GP Miami? Again, which Magic artist, known for his Angels, is making his first U.S. appearance at GP Miami? You can go and check out the GP Miami promo tape. If you don't know the answer, it's hidden in that video somewhere.
It is.
Hidden's the wrong word. It's in the video. So it's not particularly obfuscated. It's there. But again, that answer for 1 year of premium, hashtag SCG Premium, make sure you're following us so we can give you your 1 year.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's really hard by my standards.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yep. Take a look at the sideboards here. Brian Fisher up 1, so we'll take a look at his really quickly before we do go over to the Aristocrat sideboard. 2 Acidic Slimes, 1 Rakdos Return, 3 Pillar of Flame, a Graph Digger's Cage, 2 Underworld Connections, a 7 of the Bloodline, Olivia Valderin, and 4 copies of Slaughter Games.
On the other side, a Cavern, 2 Sorens, and Olivia, 3 Obsidats, 2 Thundermaws, 2 Underworld Connections, Electrickery, and 3 Mark of Unity.
Cards that kind of stick out here for the Jund side, I kind of like Sever. I love the 4th Olivia, as we just saw it dominate that game. I'm okay with the Pillar of Flame, but I'm not in love with it, just because the cards that it kills are just kind of meh. They're all part of like this bigger puzzle that I think overall Brian doesn't care about, be it a Skirstack High Priest, be it a Cartel Aristocrat, be it a Doom Traveler. I think those are all the cards that are lesser cards on his radar, as opposed to the Boros Reckoners, Falkenrath Aristocrats, and Obsidians of the world. Other than that, I don't think there's anything too much that you really fall in love with here to come in.
Yeah, on the other side, we saw, you know, if you were watching our top 4, you saw Matthew Check play against Jund in the top 4, piloted by Matt Hoey. Matt's build a little bit different, but you saw Matthew Check in that matchup go to Mark Mutiny and Obsidat, which are the 2 cards that stand out to me as being good in this matchup. I'm not sure if he wants underworld connections or not. I'm not sure if he can actually kind of win the game playing it that way. I think he's much more favored by just trying to curve out. But certainly Mark Mutiny and Obsidat were both very powerful in the sideboard games that we watched, Obsidat especially, and I would anticipate those 2 cards coming in again. The cards that stick out to me as the things that Matthew Check would want to cut, some number of Blasphemous Axe, Blood Artists, and High Priests. Yeah. The things that are all predicated on him building up a board, very hard to do against a bunch of spot removal, Museum Mortars, and Olivia. So I'd rather de-emphasize those elements of the deck.
Yeah. So we'll see if both players do like the sideboard that way, or maybe leave some other cards in and try some things. There are slaughter games over here for Brian as well, so maybe he does want to have those in his deck to take out Falkenrath Aristocrats, maybe Boros Reckoners, other annoyances. There are a lot of options available here.
So what are the cards that you don't like in the Jund deck? In this matchup, I'm not a huge fan of. I think Garrick is pretty poor.
Garrick's poor, Liliana poor, Groundseal's poor. Yeah, I think those are the easy cards to identify. The question is, does he have enough cards to replace those? Also, Rakdos Return much too slow in this matchup, so.
Well, Rakdos Return to me, if it's definitely game 1, it seems pretty bad to me. If you think your opponent's signing into Obsidian Mark Immunity, it definitely is better against those cards than it is against the game 1 configuration.
I think it's better than those cards in the game 1 configuration, but I think it's better on the play than on the draw.
Sure, so, that's definitely true too.
So because Brian's going to be on the draw this game, setting up a good Rakdos turn, getting ahead, and then making it so that you can't take a turn off to cast a Siege Ice spell to wipe the opponent's hand, I don't think that's realistic. I think it's going to be on the back foot and trying to stabilize by taking care of the creatures on the board and via Thragtusk and Hot Mash of the Fells. If he was on the play and far-seeking and that sort of thing, like we saw game 1, totally different story.
Yes. No, but that's definitely a card I could see wanting on the play but not on the draw. Yeah. That makes sense. See if Czech is able to battle back there. Fairly convincing game 1 win for Jund on the back of Olivia Valderin.
Good Magic card.
It's powerful against creatures.
Thanks, Cotton.
Definitely a card that flew under the radar for quite a while.
Yeah, it just took a little while to get home. Now that it's here, I mean, that's a card like when you see it and you play against it in sealed or whatever, you're just like, yep, just gonna lose this at some point. Yeah. Just don't know when it's gonna be. Okay, it's time.
I won a draft challenge in back when Star City had those in Triple Innistrad, and the first draft was my second draft of the format period.
Okay.
And first picked Olivia, and that was a crackerjack. That was some training wheels while I learned the commons and uncommons my opponents were playing. None of them mattered, but I got to do a lot of reading to prep for my finals table.
Yeah. Let me take a look at that. Oh, okay, so I can kill that with Olivia. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Shoot it once, shoot it twice, shoot again.
Oh, I think I beat you with that Olivia, actually, in that draft challenge.
Yeah,
that actually did.
Oh, look at the story came full circle, so there's that. It always finds a way to do that, thankfully. And you did, by the way.
Yeah.
You did. Yeah.
I think it was turn 5 Olivia, turn 6.
Oh, you should remind me and tell the story some more.
Turn 5 Olivia, turn 6 red curse you 3 times. Like 3 copies of the 1 damage curse.
Yeah. 3 copies of unplayable cards and then a card that's not possible to beat. Okay. What happened after that? Did I play some creatures and you shot them all?
The curse.
How did that go?
Curses are good once Olivia's in play, because your opponent has no choice but to race you, and then you control magic all their creatures with your Olivia. So it's synergistic.
New standard deck that Patrick's working on.
You can't slow roll once the curses are in play. You can't slow roll your hand anymore. You just have to play your creatures. And when I have control magic with buyback in play, then your creatures are pretty bad. So that is a combo, actually. That's a combo.
Yep. I would sleep with one eye open tonight. Just something to consider.
All right, so Aristocrats will be on the play. We'll see if we can just kind of get the kind of hand that I believe he wants in the matchup, that you believe he wants in the matchup, just a curve of solid creatures and some removal spells. Nothing fancy.
Just some good old honest magic. Brian's going to take a mulligan down to at least 6 here. Got any more stories you want to dredge up about you beating me, or?
In the draft challenge, there's the other good one too.
Yeah, there's. Yeah, where you played, where you had a Johnny that I couldn't beat, which is strange. You just when we play, I guess you just have a mythic rare every time, or the best card in the set each time that we play.
Cedric keeps 7. Keeps 7. On the draw, goes turn 1, and I'm playing just like a white weenie deck, mono white, pretty low in power, but fast, good curve. Cedric 6, pretty powerful 3-color Grixis control deck. He keeps 7. On the draw, goes turn 1 island, goes turn 2 discard Harbor Serpent. Then bemoans his fate after he loses to a Johnny.
It was a good keep.
This must have been an awesome keep. The Harbor Serpent already makes that hand a mulligan, Cedric.
I had 2 Flames of the Firebrand, Patrick. That undoes my mulligans.
Well, because you tied with them in your hand.
Okay. It was a good keep.
Another draft challenge trophy.
Yep.
It's got to play against SETI all the time.
That's right. Sure is fun. What? Did they? Breaking news! You're not going to be at Miami anymore. We're taking fill-ins. Anyone who knows how to play Magic, we're taking for Patrick for Miami now.
It's an open application now.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Brian going to 5.
I was going to buy your coffee this morning. That deal's off.
That deal was never on. Let's be honest with each other.
Off.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
A lot of legacy players in attendance. Wow. Full room.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people here for the Legacy Open, by the way.
So if you guys like Legacy action, stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
After this and the short break that we're going to take, because woo boy, a lot of people here.
Yeah,
awesome.
this may be record setting actually, but just sort of looking around the room.
Real quick before we get started.
Wish I was battling with the old Goblin deck.
Over here against the wall, you're going to see that we've got the fantastic StarCityGames.com dealer booth where we'd be more than happy to buy.
All right, Brian, no more mulligans.
278 for Legacy.
Next to the dealer booth, you will see our lovely Ultra Edge.
Which is a
9
lot.
rounds.
We have all kinds of
It's a 9-rounder, I think.
players
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Purchase or trade for. So go see them. They'd be more than happy to see you. They'll be here most of the day. All right.
All right,
so
here we
all
go.
you buy and sell
Blood Crypt to start.
cards over there. Please don't do any of that on the floor. We do encourage trading, so as long as you're trading, it'll be totally
Matthew
fine.
gonna
Just
draw
don't
here.
have any cash exchanging hands.
There's nicely a chapel into a Cartel Aristocrat, so
Next,
good start
I see
here.
some of you have brought some nourishment to make it through the day. If you have anything, water,
Woodland Cemetery, is it time for a
coffee,
Farseek? It is. All right, so
grain bars,
not bad.
Good, certainly for a 5-card
please
hand.
take those things,
Can't
put them
ask
directly
more
on
for
the
this
floor.
than
They
this
do not need to
opening.
be on the table. That includes now, that includes later. Just, we don't want to deal with all kinds of nasty things happening today.
Looks like Matthew Jack's hand
So
contains
please
some
take all those
lands,
things,
an
put them on the floor,
Obsidat,
leave
a
them
Mark
on
of
the floor.
Mutiny,
That's now
and a
entering
Lingering
the
Souls.
game.
Just kind of
Also,
looking to fill in the pieces here.
there's an important part of Magic that involves communication with your opponent. It's usually pretty important to know what's going on in the game, and it's a
Draws a
lot
Godless
easier
Shrine.
to do that when you're paying attention to the game
Then
and
for
not
2,
listening to your Psy Gangnam style while you're playing. Alright, so while you're playing,
Here's a Lingering
please take
Souls.
out any headphones, don't listen to music, just play Magic, that's what you're here to do. It'll make things a lot easier for everybody. In regards to electronics, if you want to use a device,
Brian, you gotta take a draw, so I can see Liliana in his hand, so that's still in his deck.
StarCityGames.com life-keeping app.
Liliana, I think,
Please
not the
keep
best,
it on the
even
table
under the
where
best of
both players can see it
circumstances,
at
and
all
certainly
times.
Lingering Souls makes it
That way everyone can be sure they're
basically uncastable.
Yeah.
Sure. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hand you over to your head judge. Level 2, Rob McKenzie from...
So there's a Rootbound Crag, and there's the M-Boss.
All right,
M. Bison herself.
putting Matthew Chak to the test
Morning.
right now.
As Aaron mentioned, I'm Rob McKenzie. I am from
And
Justice
he rips a
Rules
tragic
in
slip.
Minneapolis.
Also at the
So
market meeting at the ready, take
Yep.
it, attack,
we have
sacrifice
how
it,
many
so
players today?
healthy amount of answers.
278 players today. So it's
Flashback
gonna be a
Lingering
nice long day
Souls.
at Magic. As
Yeah, I
part
think he
of
would
this
rather
day
use the
Magic,
tragic
I wanna
slip
make
here.
a
Okay.
couple reminders.
So he can keep his Mark Immunity for
You're
potential
gonna
frag
wanna
toss.
Sure.
When you do that,
Sacrifice
you wanna
this,
do
give
two
protection
things.
from colors.
You wanna shout for a judge,
Slippy slap.
and you want to raise your hand.
You want to do both because this room is big and echoey.
And in for 4.
If we hear Judge and we turn around, we don't know where you called from without your hand up.
Goblet's trying to finish off the turn there for check, so Fisher's going to untap. He's going to draw. No bonfires, because he can't draw that, so there's a Mizium Mortars.
And check with an excellent hand of land, Ghost Council, and Market Mutiny. Pretty much the perfect 3 cards to have.
A ton of the judges on the floor have Oracle immediately available.
Now there's a Thragtusk. So this is why you see the Market Mutiny. Makes perfect sense. Just like he drew it up. Yeah, Brian does go up to 19, but big turn coming here for check. As it's either going to be that or it's going to be an Obsidian this turn. Either way, it's a win-win situation.
I would probably fire off the Market Mutiny here because you risk losing your sack outlet the longer the game goes on.
Okay.
So I would. This spot's like too good to turn down, I think. Obsidian's not going anywhere.
It's going to be an Obsidian. Okay. I certainly see your line of play here, however.
I guess the fact that you have Cartel Aristocrat and a bunch of Lingering Souls tokens makes it very unlikely that something bad's going to happen to Aristocrat. That's fine. That makes some sense.
So here's Obsidian. It's going to go Blinky Poos. And just going to pass the turn back. So Brian's going to untap. He's going to draw.
If you hear your name, please wave your arms about
Another Olivia.
Looking for Nathaniel
to go along with the Mizium Mortars.
All right. Aaron Estrin. Oh, wait, I've seen it. How about, I'm going to slaughter this, Daniel Cacchetti?
Brian contemplating his moves here.
Justin
I think he has Olivia and Mortars in hand, but no 6 land, so neither one of those plays very impactful this turn.
Yeah.
And Liliana still in the hand, which is not at its best right now.
Does look like he does have a 6th land. Nope, okay, it's just Olivia.
Okay, now
pass the
everyone's
turn
got a
back.
chance to review your lists. Judges, can you start collecting
So
decks?
Obsidian's going to come back. That's going to start the turn for check. So 24 to 12. It's going to be the life totals after this resolves. Do you still take the Thragtusk here?
Yeah, because I think at that point, Olivia basically just has a chump block.
Okay. You take Thragtusk, it becomes a 6. 6. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
he just has to chump with Olivia.
Yeah. And you see check is going to do some math here, figure out what card to take with Market Mutiny. Probably going to come to the same conclusion that we have. Gonna move over 3 mana. Yep, gonna take the old beast from the east. There's your Market Mutiny on the screen for you guys. That threaten effect that does put a +1/+1 counter. Fantastic with sacrifice outlets, which check does have, and he's gonna send in all the creatures.
There should be a counter on that Thragtusk.
Yep. And
There
the
it
counter
is.
So no good blocks here, as he just wants to. He wishes he could leave Olivia alive, as he did, and that's how Fisher won the first game.
All right, yeah. Writing's on the wall. He has to chump block with his Olivia, and no way that he's going to be able to beat the Obsidian from there, even if he rips another land for Mizium Mortars.
So a little bit better draw there for check, is that's what the deck wants to do. It does want to go 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Just curve out.
And nothing fancy.
Yeah.
Not trying to mix together A and B and C and do something cool.
Yeah.
No sand black combos. Just play your good stuff.
Just have a very solid plan A and get the opponent dead. That's the plan.
Yep. Cartel Aristocrat and the Lingering Soul is also a very powerful opening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, players, I see that you
Especially
all know
with
this
Brian
already.
still
As
having
your
Liliana
decks
in his
are
deck.
Finished getting collected here. Your pairings are up on the pairings board. That
So,
has your name range on it.
Do you think there's
The same
anything
one
that
which
Brian
is
may
at
want to
this
swap
player.
because of play draw considerations?
We talked about Rakdos Return. That could come in. I'd like to assume that Sever the Bloodline is probably in his deck. It's not great, but it's not bad either. Sever is an interesting card because it ranges from being very good to very poor in this matchup. But I still think it should be in regardless, and I think it should be in if he was on the draw. A card that's a little bit better on the play than the draw is Underworld Connections. So it makes you wonder if he did bring that in because he has the time to play that. Maybe take a turn off and then set up everything. So we'll see. We'll see. I think the most drastic of them is Rakdos Return.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, just so everyone knows here, once we're done with our game 3 here, and we have a standard open champion, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break and coming back to the Legacy Open at the beginning of round 3.
Yeah. Our classic two-round break off, and then we'll start covering rounds 3 through 9 of the Swiss for Legacy. Do our top 8, give away 3, 6, 12 months of premium, crown another champion.
Full day of Legacy play.
Yeah, can't stop, won't stop.
Milwaukee came out in force.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I'm not really too surprised here. This is one of the dates I was looking forward to. It's one of the few cities I haven't actually been to outside of driving through it to go to Minneapolis once for a PTQ. Picked up Owen Turtenwald on the way. But that's the only thing that I've done here in this city, and it's a cool city.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some more name talent in town. I saw Drew Levin mulling around the tournament hall. He moved out to Milwaukee to work on a political campaign a little while ago, and has sort of just lingered in the area gaming for a little while.
Let's see him. Funny, actually not funny. Pretty standard. He was going to come to the standard tournament and decided, forget that.
Yeah.
But Legacy, he cannot deny.
I assume he's going to be Lion's Eye diming again. He's been on a little bit of a kick lately with that deck, so.
Likes a Storm deck. Wants to be Adam Prozac. And truthfully, who doesn't?
Right, I mean, it would be a fool not to want to be. Also, keep in mind, we're going to be running the GP Miami promo. If you didn't get a chance to check it out yesterday, you definitely should. Not only because it contains the answer to our one-year trivia question, but because you're going to want to know all the information, all the awesome stuff that Star City is doing for that event in June. So make sure to stay tuned if you haven't seen that yet.
We have a final game 3 to bring you here between Matthew Check and Brian Fisher, the Aristocrats versus Jun. Gentlemen, it's down to one game for you. It's down to one game. Who wants it?
I believe the answer is both of them. I would go with both of them.
Looks like we got a couple people getting their seats.
Thanks, Cotton. I'm just going to start calling you Cotton. That's it. I'm not going to call you Pat Shellman. I'm going to have your Twitter change to Cotton, your screen. Change that commentators to Cotton.
To my Twitter to Cotton? I would have to have a Twitter that I would use for that to even be a thing.
See if Cotton's available.
I suspect it is not.
How many O's would I need for Cotton to make it work?
I would assume the third one gets us there.
So Check looks ready to keep. Is he going to keep? All right, he's a mulligan.
Nope.
All right, so it's his turn to go down to Paris. At least 6 cards.
Brian Fisher, the #1 overall seed of the tournament, trying to finish off a very impressive run this week.
Crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. It's basically saying, I don't need bonfires, and I'm going to streamline my deck. All these 1s and 2s removal spells. This just
Get out of here.
This ain't for me.
Yep. You know that's an easy sell for me.
Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah.
I do know that.
When I see one Abrupt Decay in a deck list, I'm like, do you have Mystical Tutor in your deck, or do you just have an Abrupt Decay? Okay. Do you not own a second one? Is that the thing? Like I guess they're $8 or whatever. They're kind of expensive, but if I'm going to play in the tournament, I'd probably shell out for the second Abrupt Decay.
I mean, that's why I like the Aristocrats and just other decks like it, just because it's a very streamlined deck.
Yep.
I just like numbers that are clean. I like 4s and 3s. I don't love 1s and 2s in a deck that doesn't have any card drawing. It's very frustrating for me. It's frustrating because like you have this card that you can draw. It's like, I can still draw the Abrupt Decay, but like, you don't have any way to find it. You just have to cross your fingers and hope you draw it. It's like the detention sphere. That's just annoying to me.
And at 10 minutes into the round, and that is a match loss.
You see Check is going to lay out his 6 cards here. See if he can stop the mulligans.
Welcome to round
There's
1.
at least one land in the form of Sacred Foundry.
You have 50 minutes. You may begin.
All right, thumbs up. Good to go.
Godless Shrine, Sacred Foundry, and some spells.
Fisher starts with a Stomping Ground. Lingering Souls to draw here. There is your Godless Shrine for Check as he passes it back to Fisher. See if Fisher does have a second land plus a Farseek. Oh, we're going to play an honest game, just an Overgrown Tomb. You got to be pretty happy if you're Matthew.
This is his turn 2 Farseek for the first time in the match.
Matthew draws a Dragon Skull Summit. You see a Skursak High Priest in his hand. Cartel Aristocrat as well. See what 2-drop he wants to lead on. going to start off with High Priest.
I actually really like leading with High Priest there. I feel like High Priest's value just falls off a cliff so fast in this matchup that you have to give yourself some sort of shot to get lucky with it.
Yeah.
And that's not happening on turn 4, turn 5. It's happening right now, or it's not happening. Cartel Aristocrat's pretty good no matter what stage of the game you're in. It's always going to be fine.
Red mana, looks like a Pillar of Flame. Yep, so High Priest is gone.
And you're obviously much happier with that getting pillared than your Aristocrat also.
Tell you that Brian's mana base, one thing to keep in mind there. He did play a Forest. No second black for maybe a Liliana the Veil. Might be having a little bit of mana issues.
I mean, the mana base, in fairness, in the Jund deck is not ideal. I mean, he has multiple basic forests combined with Liliana of the Veil and Murder. It's not easy.
You're going to see a Cavern of Souls into a Boros Reckoner.
So either on Wizard or Minotaur, depending on how funny Matthew Check wants to be.
Brian draws a card.
That looks like a Wizard. Looks like a Blood Crypt. So that enables Liliana if that card's present.
Yep. So that card turns on everything.
Yep.
Very good draw there for Fisher. Does he have Liliana? 3 mana. He looks like he does. He does. All right. So the Planeswalker is here. Boros Reckoner. Time to go. Matthew can untap. He's going to draw. Does he have a 4th land? He draws an Orzhov Charm. Sacred Foundry in his hand.
I'm getting the vibe that Matthew Check from the sideboard games we saw against Jund last round and now Jund again may have cut Doom Traveler.
I think that's what's happened as well. We have not seen one at all in any of these games.
Yep.
So it might be Spirit Token time in the form of Lingering Souls.
It's not a bad follow-up to an opposing Liliana.
Yep. So that's going to come in. 2 Spirit Tokens are going to come into play. You can see that Sacred Foundry come into play tapped here, and you see a Blasphemous Act in Matthew's hand as well. Pass the turn back. So Fisher going to draw a card here.
Matthew's kept in some of the funky stuff.
Yeah.
Not that you can cut it entirely just because there's so much of it in the deck, but we've seen High Priest.
And now here is Olivia Voldaren yet again.
Not bad for Matthew Check as he's got Orzhov Charm.
Yep.
He's got a clean answer. You actually have to think he hopes that Brian +1's here because he can discard the Blasphemous Act and still kill Liliana with the Lingering Souls tokens.
The Liliana stands tall, doesn't do anything as Check draws an Isolated Chapel for the turn.
So it seems like we can Orzhov Charm the Olivia. We can use our Lingering Souls tokens to finish off Liliana. Flashback our Lingering Souls. Is pretty, it's not bad. We're a little light on action besides that, but we have a bunch of big draws from there. Obsidat and Falkenrath Aristocrat, both very powerful. And Brian might just really struggle to keep the Flyers in check.
All right. So there's Orzhov Charm. I'm going to take care of that Olivia. That's step number 1. Get that thing off the table at all times. He will take 3 to do it, but that's a trade he's willing to make. 1 to take down Liliana, 1 come across. Let's see if he does choose to flashback Lingering Souls here or goes with Cartel Aristocrat.
I think given that the plays you're most concerned about out of Brian are either Thragtusk or Huntmaster, I would err on the side of just flashing about the Lingering Souls, but Matthew in the previous game made a similar decision, so he's just committed to getting Cartel Aristocrat out there.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I would want to go to the skies at that point. Especially when you do have 5 mana, so if you were to draw a Mark of Mutiny, you can actually just play Aristocrat, Mark of Mutiny the guy, and do it all in one turn.
You still have access to that line, like you said. Even if you draw Mark of Mutiny, you still have enough mana to do everything in one shot.
Yeah, Zealous Conscripts in his deck, I think it's a different story.
Right, yeah, absolutely. But the Jund deck has no end of powerful cards to answer a 2/2.
Yeah, and that one does a pretty gosh darn good job of it. It's Olivia Voldaren number 2 here by Brian. And we saw this happen in the first game.
Although the way that Matthew Check has set this up, he actually can Blasphemous Act and save his Cartel Aristocrat this turn. So if he was hedging a little bit against an additional Liliana, or sorry, additional Olivia or perhaps a Huntmaster. He's been paid off by this sequence. But if he doesn't have the tools to kill this thing, if he didn't draw another Orzhov Charm, I think he just has to fire off that Blast from the Sack, because Olivia is going to take over the game just by itself.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of stinks to have to try to Blast from the Sack for this card, but again, Olivia just threatens to take over a game on its own.
Yep.
Can't let her stick around.
He's just drawn Reckoner, which obviously complicates matters quite a bit, because
yeah.
Now you can imagine Matthew going, all right, I'll just play Reckoner, I'll flashback my Lingering Souls, and next turn I'll be able to just kind of punk him out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he doesn't draw Reckoner here, the play is almost certainly to just Blast from the Sack, but now it's much more complicated. You can almost see Matthew thinking, man, of all the draws to have, I thought I had my turn all figured out, and now it's infinitely more complicated.
Yeah.
The concern that I would have, if I'm Matthew here, with the amount of time that he's taking, if he does play Boros Reckoner, it's almost
the jig is up.
Yeah, there's a red flag has gone off.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, and there is a Boros Reckoner, so he's certainly been deliberate in his turns. He's been playing turns very quickly. He does just pass the turn back. A little surprised to not see the flashback and Lingering Souls.
Yeah, I think you want to be in a position just to threaten lethal. As Brian Fisher has drawn Garrick. You and I were not huge fans of the Planeswalkers going in, but it looks like Brian's at least kept in a few copies of both of his Planeswalkers. And now, I mean, if you're Brian, your spider senses have to be tingling right now for sure.
Just a smidge.
What else could cause him to think that long and then just come out of the tank with Reckoner pass?
So he just passes the turn back, I think?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, if I'm Matthew, I just instantly go Blast from the Sack, save my Cartel Aristocrat.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. You can't do anything fancier.
This is the best it's gonna get.
Yep. And you can't give Brian an opportunity to respond to any of this. You just have to do your thing.
So he's going to start off with an attack here.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I mean, he still has to get Brian down to 13 to make this whole sequence work.
Yeah, I mean, this just allows him to walk into just a lot of different things. I don't love this. You're going to see him shoot here.
Yeah, I would have waited. I would have just passed priority. I guess he can't pass priority because he goes to 13 and then dies.
Yeah.
So he actually has to preemptively shoot.
Okay. So a couple shots. And see, the problem here now is he can't cast the Blast from the Sack now. So yes, Fisher does move down to 14, closer to Blast from the Sack range, but with each creature that dies, that's Check getting farther and farther away from casting Blast from the Sack, and so now here you're going to see Lingering Souls get flashed back.
Yeah, the big issue in my mind was just not flashing back the Lingering Souls
Last turn, yeah, because now the damage doesn't add up favorably, and now he's got a Blast from the Sack that he just simply cannot ever, he's not going to be able to ever get to.
Yeah, it looks like Brian has access to Dreadbore now, so he can actually shut off all. Okay.
Yep.
So
the window was open, and now it's basically closed. Yeah. And let's just pass the turn back with Olivia. Again, just threatening to take over this game and stand tall. Brian draws I think that's another Blast from the Sack.
active treason, maybe? Oh no, maybe the art seems very similar from here.
So he's going to sacrifice this. One, two, three. Now he's going to cast a Blasphemous Act. So he gives Cartel Aristocrat protection from red. You're going to see Brian take a look at the Blasphemous Act here. Cost reduction is going to make it so that it does cost 6 mana. 8 minus 3 is 5, plus a red is 6. So you're going to see him shoot the token, which is going to die anyway. So
Olivia cleared off the table. Brian falling to 12, and now we'll see exactly how much Brian has in his hand.
Which is a lot.
I would assume it's a lot because he just hasn't been casting spells for numerous turns or really making land drops.
So you see exactly like how difficult it is to set up a Blasphemous Act in this matchup, because they're able to break up everything and control how many creatures you have, and B, how low impact it is because it's almost impossible to really blow them out with the Boros Reckoner because everyone knows that's coming now. Because you're going to see a Garruk Primal Hunter going to move up to 4 and put a beast into play. You know, it's certainly nice to get Olivia off the board, but at what cost?
Yeah, exactly.
You just
drew Obsidat, which is not horrible here. I mean, if anything's going to keep our head above water, it's that.
Yep, that's one that can do it. So here's an Obsidat Ghost Council. That's going to gain Matthew 2. It's going to drain Brian 2. And now Brian is going to have to get a little bit creative because you got to get this thing off the table. And it's going to blink it out.
Yep. He's just drawn another Olivia.
What's this going to be? Is this going to be a Thragtusk here? Tap 5 mana very quickly, and then he's going to untap it and slow down a little bit. Maybe consider the ramifications of that play of just tapping out. Maybe Olivia's a little bit more appealing. Elysium Mortars looks the most appealing here. So there goes Cartel Aristocrat.
You know what? We had to have some sort of blocker here. I guess we can make a beast and still block.
Yeah. So that's what you're going to see happen. Follow up the Farseek, so he wants to develop his mana a little bit.
Yeah, he's a little choked on mana. I mean, he has Thragtusk, he has Olivia in hand. I can definitely understand the desire to just get a little bit more mana in play. It's going to free up a bunch of other stuff.
So that's going to come back. 21-8 now.
I mean, there is still a pretty big risk here. I mean, Falconwrath Aristocrat, he might, if Matthew can find, might actually just kill Brian before he can really get out of this.
Looks like Clifftop Retreat was a draw to go along with the Blasphemous Act in his hand.
We're also pretty close to just being able to hardcast Blasphemous Act for another board reset.
Yep. So there goes Obsidat yet again. Can't attack because of the 2 beast tokens. So now Garruk can start creating a huge advantage. And we do know that Brian has at least 1 Thragtusk in his hand, so he can pad his life total a little bit here. Sever the Bloodline to draw for Brian this turn. So there is your Thragtusk. Going to push Fisher up to 13. Give him another blocker while also providing him with a decent clock as well. And allow him to draw a lot of cards off of Garruk, which will be 5 of them. So tough spot now if you're Czech.
Although Brian still has to be very careful about Mark Immunity.
Yep.
If he sends both of his beasts, he can just die.
There's a Stomping Ground. See if he makes any attacks here. No
Just
attack
happy to be
whatsoever.
conservative.
Yep. So Obsidat's going to come back, make it 23-11. Checking a draw card. Looks like he's running to another land here.
Also worth noting, with the amount of mana that Matthew has drawn and Brian adding creatures to play, He's actually back in a spot where Reckoner Act is like just can happen in one turn.
Yeah, realistic to get to that spot.
As bad as the board looks, Matthew still has a lot of range here.
Yeah, there are outs in this situation. This game is not over.
And he's got a reasonable amount of time. Although I guess once Matthew decides to turn it on, the game ends fairly quickly from there.
Yeah. Yeah, if Fisher ever does decide to start sending in with those beast tokens in that Thragtusk, the game does end relatively quickly, and you're going to see Thragtusk come in here. Knock check down to 18. Yeah, see, by playing this conservatively, you are giving Czech some time to draw to his outset. You want to cut the clock as fast as you can.
Yeah, I don't know if he respects Reckoner Act enough here. Because this Obsidian Trigger brings Matthew up to 20, which means that Liliana, but I think Matt has sandbagged a land here, so he actually has that covered. Keep in mind that Brian's attack next turn is sort of lethal. I mean, brings Matthew up to 20. He has 19 points on board. Obviously, he can Garrick looking for a burn spell or a Keswick Wolf Run. I mean, there's plenty of draws, but
Falconwrath Aristocrat to draw this turn. See the Sever over there in Brian's hand. So let's see if Czech wants to pull the trigger on Aristocrat. If he does he want to get in? Does not want to get in.
I mean, he can just hope to get lucky. He can just he can just hang back with that Aristocrat as insurance against Leon's +1 power and just hope to peel Reckoner, assuming that Brian isn't able to find a way to deal the 20th point.
Yep.
He's got a lot of ways he can play this.
Yeah. So you see him organizing that mana there. 4 over to the left, 3 over to the right. It's Aristocrat time. The question is what to do with said Aristocrat. Or is he going to start off with... Okay, so it looks like he's going to start off with maybe a Blasphemous Act or no? Okay.
I mean, you can go Blasphemous Act. And does he have enough left over to regenerate and save his guy?
Yeah.
I don't think you can really Blasphemous Act in this spot because the leftovers from the Thragtusk is just too much.
The leftovers from the Thragtusk is going to kill Liliana. The leftovers of the Thragtusk and leaving with a Liliana and a Garrick makes it pretty tough.
Okay, so he's just gonna say he's gonna risk it here. I like this play. He's gonna say, I don't think you can find that final point. And if you can't, he's got a ton of draws.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see what the draw is going to be. It's a Rupon Crag. So it's a handful of lands and Sever the Bloodline.
Okay, so we're gonna draw 5. He's got a lot of draws to fade here, obviously.
Arbor Elf, Farseek, Woodland Cemetery, Thragtusk, Dreadbore. So can't kill him this turn.
19, 17. So we can Dreadbore and play Thragtusk?
Yes.
Okay. And that pushes us out of Reckoner Blasphemous Act range. That might just shut the door.
Yep. Drawing 5 cards often does that.
I mean, Brian's pretty favored to find something meaningful there.
Yeah. So in with 2 Thragtusk, gonna put check down to 10. Let's see what Brian wants to follow up with. Looks like he's reaching for Dreadbore. Yeah.
Yep.
So Dreadbore, that Falconwrath Aristocrat, that's going to die. Here's our Thragtusk. So this is what we thought we were going to see.
Yeah.
And now Farseek to finish off for the turn, yeah. And I think because of that 5 life that he did gain, I think that is going to close the door on the possibility of outs here.
Yeah.
This is going to push himself up to 19.
Ghost Council returns.
17.
Check moves up to 12.
Skirt Stack High Priest, maybe? Not Isolated Chapel. Not a Boros Reckoner. Here comes Obsidat.
I would assume we're going to block with two beasts rather.
So Obsidat will trade off with the beast here. Blast was not going to wipe everything away, but it's going to leave Fisher with 3 beast tokens.
A lot of leftovers.
Yeah. Thragtusk, hell of a card.
Although Check did have his window in this game.
Yeah.
You know, we go back, we look at that Lingering Souls play, not flashing it back earlier. Was just a little bit short multiple times of being able to Blasphemous Act out.
There's a Woodland Cemetery. In for 9, you're going to put Check down to 3.
Can safely no longer worry himself with Mark Immunity.
Yeah. Here's an Olivia.
It looks like Brian Fisher, our 1 seed, is going to be taking it down.
Yeah, plowed his way through this tournament. As Check does draw a card. It's a Boros Reckoner.
A little late.
Yep. And he's going to extend the hand. So Brian Fisher defeats Matthew Check 2-1 in the finals of this tournament. Jund is victorious over the Aristocrats this weekend.
And we have a trivia question.
We do. We got to give away
This
those
is a hard
last,
one, you know. And if you didn't get out there, there's no shame really, because